Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri-Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri-Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Satashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mayi ki jai, Jamuna Mayi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you everyone for being here for reading of Sri Caitanya-caritamrta with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. It is Thursday, January 11th, 2024 in New York. And tonight we're starting with Adi Lila, chapter 7. And if my notes are correct, we did not progress past verse number 113. Yes, last week. So if that sounds right, we can proceed starting with text 114 today. Otherwise, I'll wait to see what others might have to say about this. Good. So starting with text 114 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tanra dosha nahi teno agyakari dasa. Araye shunetara hoya sarvanasha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to the Mayavadi sannyasis of Benares. He says, Shankaracharya, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, is faultless because he is a servant carrying out the orders of the Lord. But those who follow his Mayavadi philosophy are doomed. They will lose all their advancement in spiritual knowledge. Purport. Mayavadi philosophers are very proud of exhibiting their Vedanta knowledge through grammatical jugglery. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna certifies that they are Maya-ya-pahrita jnana, bereft of real knowledge due to Maya. Maya has two potencies with which to execute her two functions. The prakshipatmika shakti, the power to throw the living entity into the ocean of material existence, and avaranatmaka shakti, the power to cover the knowledge of the living entity. The function of the avaranatmaka shakti is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by the word Maya-ya parhita jnana. Why the Daivi Maya, or illusory energy of Krishna, takes away the knowledge of the Mayavadi philosophers is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita by the use of the words asurang bhavam ashritaha, which refer to a person who does not agree to the existence of the Lord. The Mayavadis, who are not in agreement with the existence of the Lord, can be classified in two groups, exemplified by the impersonalist Shankarites of Varanasi and the Buddhists of Saranatha. Both groups are Mayavadis, and Krishna takes away their knowledge due to their atheistic philosophies. Neither group agrees to accept the existence of a personal God. The Buddhist philosophers clearly deny both the soul and God. And although the Shankarites do not openly deny God, they say that the Absolute is nirakara, or formless. Thus, both the Buddhist and the Shankarites are avashuddha buddhayaha, or imperfect and unclean in their knowledge and intelligence. This is a very long purport, so maybe we could pause there and discuss some things. Very long purport, maybe twice as long. We've gone about halfway through. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as we've been discussing in these verses, Lord Chaitanya is speaking to the Mayavadi sannyasis. He's trying to change their frame of reference from understanding the Vedanta Sutra one way to understanding it his way, the actual way. And in previous verses, he pointed out that the source of the Vedas themselves are Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of Narayan. And because they are coming from Narayan himself, they are faultless and should be taken as they are. And here he's, I won't say taking Shankaracharya off the hook, but he's not criticizing Shankaracharya. He's just pointing out that he's carrying out the orders of the Lord. The Lord ordered him to present this Mayavada Bhashya. But whoever follows that, they're the ones who are, what does it say? Sarvanasha, everything lost. Everything lost. And one might ask why he would want everything to be lost. And this is the desire of the living entity. It's a thankless task that Maya herself has to do to keep the living entities in illusion. But she's carrying out the order of the Lord. And similarly, Shankaracharya, Lord Shiva's expansion or incarnation, he's doing the same thing. He's presenting a philosophy. Why? Because there are people that are really going to want that. And Krishna's always keen to provide for the desires of the living entities, no matter what they may want. So at this time in history, Shankaracharya is presenting this philosophy just to bewilder people, just to give them the wrong idea. He's the Agyakari, the obedient order carrier of the Lord, the dasa, the servant. So he's fine, but he's just giving the people what they want. And in the purport, just listening to the way Prabhupada presents the mode of presentation of the Mayavadi philosophers, you can contrast that with the mode of presentation of the Vaishnavacharyas. Mayavadi philosophers are very proud of exhibiting their Vedanta knowledge through grammatical jugglery. You can contrast that with the presentation of the Vaishnavacharyas, who are very humble, and they present actual knowledge, knowing themselves to be servants of the Lord, trying like anything to avoid grammatical jugglery. Prabhupada worked very hard to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad-Bhagavatam as it is, with no grammatical jugglery involved. And he was not proud. Rather, he was always the very humble servant of his spiritual master. But different strokes for different folks. And apparently, these Mayavadi sannyasis are very keen to pump themselves up through this process of grammatical jugglery. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna confirms they are Maya ya Parita Jnana. And this, he presents the two potencies of Maya here, Prakshipatmaka, Avaranatmaka, the throwing and the covering potency. Prabhupada presents it here, the throwing potency, the Prakshipatmaka, the power to throw the living entity into the ocean of material existence, and then Avaranatmaka, to cover them. Once I was hearing a class by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, and he was speaking of this. I'm not sure the source or if this was his own realization, but he made me think about this throwing and covering potency from a slightly different angle of vision. He was saying, and I don't know if this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I'm not sure, I'd have to do some research to find out, but he was saying that the covering potency, you can imagine that like if you go to a movie theater and the movie screen is the covering of the black back of the theater. And then the images that are thrown onto the screen are the Maya. So what the living entity, who is pure and spiritual and full of cognizance by nature, is subjected to in the material realm, is that the reality is covered and then an illusion is projected onto that reality so that the living entity thinks this is reality when it's actually not. Maharaj, would you care to add your own comments so far? We've
a couple of things. One is that it's interesting to see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so respectful to the Mayavadi sannyasis, Kashananda Saraswati and the others. And Prabhupada, in contrast, doesn't give them very much respect at all. He really smashes them. They're Maya, Prityagyana, elsewhere they're Mudha, and so on. Sometimes we hear that it's somehow not right to disparage the impersonalists, that we should always see them as aspiring transcendentalists, or as transcendentalists who are simply in another stage of realization or who have a different take on things. But Srila Prabhupada certainly disparaged them. He cut them up, really. So there are different ways of dealing with them. Also, these two kinds of Mayavadis, Sarnath Mayavadis and the Varanasi Mayavadis. Varanasi Mayavadis are the Shankarites who take everything to be impersonal, and the Sarnath Mayavadis, because that's where Lord Buddha spoke his sermon. They are the Buddhists. So the Buddhists outright deny the personality of Godhead, and the Shankarites indirectly deny the personality of Godhead. So the Shankarites have been described as crypto-Buddhists, covered Buddhists. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Tulsi Priya comments and adds a question. Regarding the two potencies of Maya, Prakshipatmaka Shakti throwing and Avaranatmaka Shakti covering, where is the living entity being thrown from? And what knowledge does the jiva possess that the Avaranatmaka Shakti covers?
He's thrown from pure consciousness, and his original knowledge is that I'm spirit soul and part and parcel of Krishna. That's his constitutional position, and so it's his constitutional knowledge. But the living entity is thrown from that position and his knowledge is covered. Agyanena avritam gyanam tenu yanti jantava. I think Bhagavad Gita. Maybe that verse can be found. And tadbuddhayas tadatmanas tanishtas. Maybe 5th chapter.
Okay. Is that all right, Tulsi Priya? Is there more?
Yes, could I ask a follow-up question? Not really follow-up, it was based on something Maharaj just said about Prabhupada's intolerance of the Mayavadis. I was just thinking that Mahaprabhu was present with those sannyasis and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So isn't it that he's very tolerant, but the devotee will not tolerate an insult to the Supreme Lord, even though the Lord may tolerate it?
Yes, the devotees don't like to see Krishna made out to be, as Prabhupada said, blind, lame, deaf, and so on.
Yeah.
Thank
you for your answer, Maharaj.
Jnanena tutara jnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha. Yesham adityavaj jnanam prakashayati tatparam. 5:16. Living entity is covered by ignorance, which results in nashitam atmanaha, destruction of his actual position, covering his actual position.
Might I add one more thing?
I'm not
This,
sure.
This idea of throwing and covering, it reminds me of like when you see you know, in old movies of spy craft, they want to take somebody away and they cover his head with a black bag and throw him in the back of a car so he doesn't know where he's going. And I was just thinking you know, the idea is to completely, you know, just the person doesn't have any idea where they're going and they're completely bewildered and disoriented, so they're caught off guard. And I feel like that's just totally the situation of us in the material world. We're just covered in a dark black bag and we have no idea what's going on.
The other way they do it in spy movies, of course, is they throw a woman at him.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Got an active chat window here. Davi's child says, Hare Krishna. But I once heard one of Adi Shankaracharya's poems. In that poem, he is describing the form of God as a mother, Devi. He was describing her beauty with the personal relation as her son.
I don't know the verse, but that's part of Vedic culture to respect the demigods. Devi, they're also respectable. But that doesn't mean that they're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I was with Srila Prabhupada, I told this before, I was with Srila Prabhupada one time on a morning walk in Vrindavan, and he came to a raised platform where there was some music playing and some agarbatti, and there was a little shrine there, and Prabhupada came close and saw that it was a shrine of Durga. And Prabhupada offered full dandavats before the deity of Durga. And then he got up onto his knees and he was seeing the deity. And Prabhupada had tears in his eyes. And he said that we're also worshipping Durga, just like the gopis. Please give us your blessings so that we can have Krishna as our husband. He said, we're also worshipping Durga, but not like the materialists. Dhanam Dehi, give me wealth, give me a nice wife, give me this, give me that. But Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana, you're very dear to Krishna because you're always carrying out the orders of Krishna. So please give your blessings so that we can be engaged in Krishna's service.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Panchatattva offers another reference. Avaranatmika means covering, and prakshipatmika means pulling down. It's from purport to 334. And he says, in another place, Prabhupada calls prakshipatmika shakti the spell of diversion, which impels one who is determined to get out of material bondage, to remain in conditioned life. Yeah. Sucharu Deva Prabhu says, should we use the words fools and rascals, just as Srila Prabhupada did?
I think it's certainly preferable to bastards. Where Prabhupada, I've told this before also, that Prabhupada was explaining to a guest why he'd called a famous Bengali saintly person a rascal. And Prabhupada did it by going through word by word, Namam Duskrita Namudha Prapadyante Naradama. And Prabhupada said, it's not my saying, it's Krishna's saying. What can I do? That if I'm Krishna's servant, I have to repeat what Krishna said.
Can I just have a follow-up question on that?
Mm.
Um, Usually it is the sentiment which I've observed is that because Srila Prabhupada was old, therefore his usage of these terms cannot is not a big issue. Secondly, Srila Prabhupada is above the bodily platform, and whatever he is speaking is not out of egoism. But if we do that, it will be considered offensive, and second, egoistic, because we are on bodily conception of life, and third perspective that devotees often give is that we should not harshly criticize Mayavadis because after all they are in the Vedic fold, and the milieus are charged with atheistic and Abrahamic orthodoxy. They should be challenged and not Mayavadi, so we should not be very harsh on Mayavadi. So how can we deal with?
Well, let's take those one by one. The first point is that Prabhupada was elderly, so he could get away with things that we can't. And that's true. Prabhupada could speak directly to someone quite sternly. He one time was at the Indian Embassy in New York with Kirti Braj Prabhu, and he spoke very strongly to the ambassador or assistant, consul or assistant consul. And Prabhupada later said to Kirtiraj that I can speak that way to him because I am old man, so he has to listen. He said, but you cannot do that. So when it comes to how we deal with an individual face to face, you're right. Prabhupada, we have to take into account Prabhupada's seniority over the people that he was sometimes speaking with. But as far as fools and rascals as sort of a senior privilege, that we can't say that Mayavadis are fools or rascals, unless we're senior like Prabhupada or free from false ego. No, there's no indication of that. We're just repeating. This is what Prabhupada said. Or if you like, you can put it in quotes. You know, I may have my opinion, but Srila Prabhupada said that, and then you're off the hook. It's just what he said, but you don't even have to do that. Prabhupada was strong on these things, and it's true that one may take the approach of respecting even the Mayavadis as transcendentalists, and Prabhupada sometimes gives them that credit. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu certainly is respectful in his dealings with Prakashananda. But it's not that this is the rule. You must respect the Mayavadis as transcendentalists. You must be deferential in the language that you use about them. In fact, even Mayavadi is a disparaging term. It's I don't think the people we call Mayavadis use that term self-referentially. They don't call themselves Mayavadis. We call them Mayavadis because that's what their philosophy amounts to. You're saying that everything is Maya, including the form of the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada freely used that term. And it's not that it was reserved for him and no one else can use it. It's freely available. There was an incident in the time of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur where there was some meeting and one preacher, brahmachari, I think, of course, the senior preachers at that place had been, carefully bringing people along in Krishna consciousness, trying to turn them to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's way of seeing. And at one meeting, one brahmachari, I think, referred to a very respected Bengali Paramhansa as a foolish priest, as I recall. And it created an uproar in that meeting. This devotee had insulted such a respectable religious figure, and it just created havoc. And the senior preachers came back and reported to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that this had happened and that this devotee had disrupted things in such a way. And according to the account, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very pleased. Very good. Very good. And he wasn't a senior man, he wasn't elderly, but he told it as it was. So certainly one is entitled to take the approach of treating the followers of Shankaracharya deferentially as transcendentalists, and tactically that may sometimes be appropriate, but there's no rule that one has to do that. And it's quite standard in our line that Prabhupada used what he called a chopping technique. He just slashed away at the impersonalists. He didn't give them any quarter. He was take no prisoners. He just lambasted them right, left, and center. And as far as I can tell, he expected us to be similarly strong in condemning the impersonalist philosophy.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, I asked this question because a couple of months ago there was a big uproar in ISKCON India after a very senior preacher, he spoke in Bengal against the so-called Paramhamsa. And there was mixed reactions from devotees, few of them quoting Srila Prabhupada, When Srila Prabhupada once said that we should not speak against Gandhi in Gandhi's land, maybe to Jashromati Nandan Proji, I don't remember for sure. So that is one point that most preachers were saying. And a second point was that we don't criticize Mohammedans as strong, especially if we are in Middle East. We respect their beliefs and we maintain a respectful distance from them. Why so harsh on someone who is following Vedic civilization? And secondly, they say that Bhaktisiddhanta was strong against them because they were the major force during his preaching time, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but they are not a major force now, so there's no need
They're
of
not
being
a
so
major
strong.
force. Why are you objecting? If they're not a major force, why did it become such a matter of discussion? If they were just some insignificant minority of unusual people that no one listens to, why did it become such a discussion in ISKCON India? Mayavadis are influential all over the world, and certainly in India. This concept is so prevalent that Jatamat Tatapat, that you worship any god you like, because ultimately God has no form, no qualities, no name, no this, no that. God is impersonal. And so whichever Ishtadevata you choose, it's all the same, because it gets you to the same impersonal absolute. That idea is so prevalent. It's not just a sort of minority view held by some oddball outliers in India. It's mainstream. So Prabhupada attacked that position vociferously and relentlessly. So at least to that argument, that's one answer. As far as what tactic devotees can take different tactics. They may have different opinions, and they not only about Mayavadis, but about philanthropists, about altruists, about scientists, about this, about that. And all right, everyone has to be his own judge of time, place, and circumstance, taking the Prabhupada's instructions. But I saw that Prabhupada was relentless and pleased when his disciples attacked the Mayavadi philosophy, the scientific, reductionistic orthodoxy, and so on. Our Hansaduta Prabhu attacked one Dr. Kavur, who had preached scientific materialism. And Prabhupada was exceedingly pleased. Hansaduta just took him on, and was quite caustic in criticizing his views. Prabhupada was very pleased. Not, why have you attacked a scientist? He's attacked Krishna. So Krishna's devotees have attacked him, at least attacked his position. Prabhupada was not, congenial to these Mayavadi positions. He was not tolerant. He was not generally willing to just take it on as, well, we have our view, they have their view. He was in attack mode. So I won't dictate policy for ISKCON India, but these are some points.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maybe I'm stretching it a little bit too much, but I just want to ask you one last aspect which comes in this controversy, which is that if we criticize these Mayavadi, especially famous ones, somehow in India we have to stay within this so-called Hindu society, and we need some sort of support from them, especially like if we are devotees are getting attacked in Bangladesh, or we want help from government. So somehow we have to respect them because we'll be needing them at some point of time in management or in governance somewhere. So therefore, one of the points that Picha says that the real enemy of Vaishnavism at the moment is Islamic radicalism, left-wing liberalism, or Christian
This
evangelism.
is all bunk, pardon me. The
Yes,
real
Maharaj.
enemy of Vaishnavism is Islam. Give me a break. The Islamic majority is not responsible, Islamic minority is not responsible for the lack of God consciousness that is prevalent in India and the world. Islam presents its own issues, its own challenges. That's not nothing. But yeah, we should all be in solidarity with Hinduism, whether it's Mayavad, whether it's even Shunyavad, because that's Buddhism is also dharmic. We should all be in solidarity with anyone who's not a Muslim, because we're all on the same team. Prabhupada was not on the same team. He wasn't a team player with the Mayavadis. Now, that said, this was Prabhupada's main tactic. He would criticize, there's some rare exceptions, but he would criticize the position and not criticize the person. And he quoted a Bengali proverb that if you kill a skunk with your hand gets a bad smell. So he wouldn't directly criticize the person, but he would criticize so-called Paramahansas who teach that whatever path you take, it all leads to the same goal. And then he would, he would destroy that position. He would attack it strongly. Or they would ask, what do you think of such and such saintly person? And Prabhupada would say, so what does he teach? And then whatever the answer was, Prabhupada would attack the position. And I do not know about Swami such and such, but as far as this, and then he would attack the position. And usually not very, he wasn't all that thorough in covering his tracks. He wasn't ultra careful to make sure that no one could understand who he was talking about. It was usually fairly close to the surface. Everything but the name would be there. Some so-called religious leaders, I do not wish to mention, but they have said, Prabhupada would go on, smashing the position, but without mentioning the skunk's name, so that we would not get a bad smell. Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
But he would not compromise on teaching. He might be not deferential. He might be circumspect as far as naming names, but he was not at all circumspect about attacking positions and not willing to yield or compromise. As he once told Giriraj Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj never compromised. I never compromised, nor should any of my disciples ever compromise. We need everybody, we need all the Mayavadis, we need all the atheists, we need all the Muslims, we need all the Christians, we need all the women, the feminists, we need all of everybody, we want every vote, like a politician, because who knows when you might need these people for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, so you don't want to step on any toes. No, that was not Prabhupada's position. Yes, he was sometimes tactful, he was sometimes careful, taking into account the person, the circumstances, the place, but as a not that in principle, no, we never attack any other position because these people are all our allies. No, no.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
We have a tremendous amount of material in the chat window. I'm not sure where to begin. Guess we can go back to the earliest one and see how far we get. Praveen Prabhu quotes Mayavadam asach chastram pachchanang bodhamuchjate Mayaiva kalpitang devi kalo brahmana rupina. The Mayavada philosophy, Lord Shiva informed his wife Parvati, is impious, asach chastra. It is covered Buddhism. My dear Parvati, in Kali Yuga, I assume the form of a Brahmana and teach this imagined Mayavada philosophy. In order to cheat the atheists, I describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be without form and without qualities. Tulsi Priya says, it is also part of the Mayavadi practice, I've heard, that you adopt the mindset of a personal devotional relationship with the object of worship, but that concept is ultimately to be discarded. It's just a tool to help you progress, but it's not perfect understanding.
Yes, it's like a ladder. You use the ladder, and when you get to the top of the wall, you throw the ladder away. Prabhupada was walking in Mayapur, and Bhavananda helped Prabhupada get across a ditch, with his, just helped him with his arms. And Prabhupada, once he reached the other side, pushed him. He gave him a push, and Bhavananda was like bewildered. What did I do? And then Prabhupada explained, this is the Mayavadi approach, that we take your help and then we push you away. So yes, you're right. That's what they do.
Devi's child goes back to an earlier part of our discussion regarding Shankaracharya referring to Krishna, or he says maybe he wasn't referring to Krishna, but he still described Devi with a form, isn't he?
Yes, Devi has a form. Not that the Krishna's form is just a myth. The demigods are all mythological. No. Shankaracharya accepted that Narayana Prabhyaktat, that the personality of Godhead is even beyond the unmanifest. He accepted the forms of the demigods. We also accept that these Devis and Devatas are servants of the personality of Godhead. So that from that point of view, we're respectful to them. One should not show disrespect to the demigods.
Panchatattva Prabhu says in regards to the Vaishnavas being harsh in their criticism of Mayavadis, but the Mayavadis are extremely harsh toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hard not to notice and to answer strongly if one is qualified with the transcendental knowledge to do so. And Devi's child goes on, should we use those bad words for them, meaning fools and rascals? Maybe they are following a path which is not recommended. At least they are starting their devotional path somewhere. Krishna even said a person of knowledge wouldn't differentiate between a dog and a dog eater. Krishna also gave mercy to many demons who did worse crimes. Also, can someone who is following sattvic way of life should use these words?
Well, Prabhupada said sometimes strong words are needed to awaken a sleeping man. And so he didn't say they were So he used strong words. And Krishna gave many demons mercy who did worse crimes, but he also killed them. So we should give mercy to the Mayavadis by killing their philosophy. Even if they're following a sattvic way of life, we should kill their philosophy. And that way they'll get transcendental benefit.
Tulsi Priya, going back to the recent controversy in India, I was just going to ask about this same controversy. I think part of the problem is that leaders were offering public praise of the Mayavadis. And an apology, I didn't delve into it, so I don't know the details, but that was the gist.
I'm not familiar with the events.
Panchatattva says in response to hearing Mayavad philosophy, silence is acceptance. And Tulsi Priya says, if you don't eliminate a single weed when it appears, soon you will have a garden full of weeds. Devi's Child says, because of invasions, a consciousness was formed in India.
Consensus, I think.
A consensus was formed in India that there should be no infighting, especially in Sanatan Dharma. Maybe that's why there was so much resistance to it. At least they have started their spiritual journey, maybe a wrong one, but in time, Krishna will surely get them on the right path. Every path has its problems. Even in ISKCON, there was worst crimes, and sadly the Dharma was not followed. Like Bhishma, many kept silent in those issues which happened in front of them.
Well, maybe there was a consensus, but Prabhupada didn't join it. And we see that from his writing, particularly in this volume, this chapter of Caitanya-caritamrta, which he even instructed should be published as a separate volume and distributed to all the Mayavadi sannyasis. Prabhupada was very strong. He didn't say, no, we're against infighting. They may be very polite, because that's their philosophy. I'm okay, you're okay. Everything's good. You worship Shiva, you worship Durga, you do anything. It's all part of Sanatan Dharma. It's all acceptable. But Prabhupada, no, he didn't sign on to that. He didn't join that consensus. No, I'm okay, you're not okay. Prabhupada said that was our philosophy, because that's Krishna. Namam duskrita namudha, hritagana prapadyante nyadevata. In so many places, Krishna speaks very strongly in the Bhagavad Gita against these impersonal conclusions. And Prabhupada praised his spiritual master, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. And he didn't remove it by gentle words and accommodation. He removed it by speaking very boldly and strongly against anything other than Krishna consciousness. What was that? Anya Dur, we were here reading in Bhagavatam yesterday, that everything other than Krishna consciousness is like treated not as part of our mutual consensus, but as something far away and rejected.
And Murai Gupta Prabhu comments, if we don't attack this philosophy, no one will.
Mm-hmm.
And then going back, Panchatattva Prabhu says, it seems that over time, we have developed this idea of Srila Prabhupada as congenial, grandfatherly, etc. However, and then he quotes Adi Lila 1084 purport, obeisances are therefore offered to the spiritual master as Saraswata Deva, or a member of the Saraswata family, Namaste Saraswate Deve, whose mission is to broadcast the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauravani Pracharine, and to fight with impersonalists and voidists, Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi, Pashyatya Deshatarane. This was also the occupational duty of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Anupama Goswami.
Yeah, this point is worth making too, that it's not just Prabhupada, that he was some sort of, it was just his personal quirk, that he was feisty and he would fight with everyone. This is in our line, and not only our line, so many lines. The acharyas take great pleasure, it seems, in composing verses that just devastate the materialistic position, the impersonal position, the voidist position. Their invective, their discourse is really strong. There's some verse, what is that? Directed to the Charvakas. The Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu's quoted it, I think, in commentary on Sandarbhas, that my dear, it's a pun on Charvaki. My dear Charvaki, my dear follower of Charvaka Muni, you say that everything is just a combination of chemicals. Then why are you sighing so heavily to see that your wife is involved with some other man? So these strong words are used by the acharyas, by Krishna himself, in the Yapashandi Bhaved in the Bhagavatam also, or it's not Bhagavatam, it's Puranas. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahmarudradi Dayavata. Anyone who puts the other devatas on the same level of Narayan is an atheist, Pashandi. These are not light words, and they're used by the Shastras, by the Acharyas. So Prabhupada's not taking a heterodox position or at all. He's following the line of the Acharyas, including the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis have they don't play with their with their gloves on either. They use very strong, what should we say, discourse in attacking positions other than their own. So the Vaishnavas respond with similar or greater strength.
Tulsi Priya says, people will attack another person when their personal interest is at stake. It seems Prabhupada took Mayavadi philosophy very, quote, personally, because Krishna was his only interest. With many of us, we have other interests besides, and maybe denying the personality of Krishna doesn't hurt us so deeply. Devi's child goes on to say, we know some instances in my place when Islamic invaders attacked and killed Brahmins and destroyed temples. The main people who rescued them and fought against the invaders were sannyasis from the Mayavad order. Maybe there is good in them. Let's ask Krishna to help them, but let's not use these bad words against them.
Well, if they do something good, we'll praise them. But Prabhupada didn't exempt them from Krishna's bad words because they sometimes did something good. And if we're, by the way, if proof by selected instances, when our temple blew up in Leicester, England, and the devotees were like, just were in chaos, the crying children and devotees in shock and so on. And who knows what might happen next. The people who helped were the local Muslim people. The devotees took shelter in Fatima's beauty parlor, and because the local community was largely Islamic, and they were the ones who helped and comforted the children and were very kind. And the Hindus, what did they do? Our temple had blown to bits. We had no place to meet, and they did nothing for us. The local Hindu organizations did nothing for us, except finally a major Hindu society came forward and let us have use of their hall. And then after some months, they sent us a bill. They wanted to be paid for all those months. So again, this is proof by selected instances, which is a kind of non-proof. It doesn't show anything. Anyone may, even Hiranyakashipu sometimes preached Sanatana Dharma. He preached actual truth to his family members. So yes, we can find some good in anyone, and we should try to see the good in others, whether they're Mayavadis or Buddhists or Muslims or Christians or whatever they might be. But that doesn't mean that, all right, now your philosophy is off limits to our criticism because you helped us or you did good. We don't do that. We give you credit for the good thing you did, but and we hope that credit will help you get free from this poisonous philosophy that you've adopted.
Tulsi Priya, just to close out, we need to end soon, but is there a crime worse than denying the existence of Krishna? All other crimes, as horrific as they are karmic reactions. We bring them on ourselves one way or another. What did Krishna do that the Mayavadis should seek to rub him out? Hare Krishna. So, I was going to see if Panchatattva Prabhu would be available to lead Kirtan. If not, to nominate someone else to lead Kirtan tonight.
Just look where you can.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Oh, Jai.
And right now, I'm personally celebrating this strong voices of Guru Maharaj and Nikendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sriva Sadigaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shamakund Radha Kund, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamayi Ki Jai. Yamunamayi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande.
Hari Haribol. Thank you so much, Panchatattva Prabhu, and thank you, Maharaj, for everything, for being with us tonight. Hare Krishna. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and participating. It's a lively talk, as always. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many thanks from the peanut gallery.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu and Kendra Prabhu, Murari and Devi's child. Thanks to all.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow for Srimad-Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Thank you again, Maharaj.
Hari Hari.